All right. All right, all right. Everything should be fine. Let me see. Yep, mic is good. I can actually hear the game itself. Okay. All right. I'm not gonna do the pre-show thing or whatever. I'm just gonna get started. It's already kind of late, but I already procrastinated enough, and I want to continue where we left off because I'm pretty sure we're about to hit the end game of this story arc. So let's not delay, shall we? Yep. The last thing that happened was we confronted the person on the phone. And as it turns out, that person is not who we think it is. Hello.
Keiichi.
Yeah, what's up? What the fuck is that?
友達が行方不明になったんだ。
Huh?
気の毒にな。
Normally my dad never shows me any consideration, but this time he did. Oh, right. It was his parents, I think, who was like talking to him.
うちの圭一もしばらくの間学校を控えた方がいいんじゃないのかな。
I was like, I forgot. Did we hang? Yeah. Okay, we hung up, and then it like cut to the next day. Right. And Keiichi is now like kind of like, oh my god, why? That was I thought that was Shion. I mean Mion for a second talking to Keiichi, and that was like, whose voice is that? Okay, that's funny. Okay.
警察が何とかするまで外出を控えた方が安全だと思うぞ。
そうね。もしもってことに比べたら、学校を何日かお休みにするくらい。
それよりもこんな物騒な事態になったら学校なんか休校にするのが筋じゃないのか？
Yeah, I was about to say, like, it really is a dangerous time right now. Shouldn't they be more precautious about this sort of thing?
まったく学校の先生方は人の子を何だと思ってるんだ。
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I was checking the audio. What are those interesting... Mom and Dad were getting pretty riled up, but at this point, I couldn't care less. Besides, that wasn't the only thing I couldn't care less about. The breakfast table, the food in front of me, the time and date, myself, really had no interest in anything. This feeling, it was like a dead fog in my mind. It felt like getting dizzy after taking a strong medication. What's up, father?
学校の勉強はどうなんだ？圭一の方が進んでるくらいじゃないのか？もしそうならしばらくお休みしてもいいんだぞ。
I didn't even feel like answering. Today was Thursday. Only 4 days have passed since Watanagashi festival. Such a short time, and yet now things were completely different. Everything had changed. The tranquil village, bright clear as if it were an Indian summer, had undergone a total reversal. People were made to disappear every night, and we couldn't even relax when walking out in broad daylight. The village had become a world of fear. I had no right to curse this outcome. After all, the one responsible for everything was me. That night, I couldn't resist my honestly tiny, little, and incredibly stupid curiosity, and broke the taboo.
ここは入ってはいけないところなんだろう。鍵がかかっているのを勝手に開けて押し入るなんて、たとえ物を盗まなくったってシオンだってこれが合いびき現場じゃないと分かったなら十分だろう。俺はこんなのには全然興味はないんだ。こんなところにいる間にリカちゃんの演舞が終わっちゃったらどうするんだよ。
Yeah, he didn't even get to see Rika's dance. I pried it on as I took the lock from Tomitaka-san's hand and put it back on the door. I'll forget everything I saw here, so come on. Let's go. Let's go. Takano-san was threatening, but I pushed her away. Tomitaka-san grinned painfully Shion's shoulders drooped as if to call me an idiot. Even so, I didn't care. Is he like, I pushed everyone further and further away. Rika-chan's dance was still going on. Then, at last, her dance was brought to a close with a roaring applause. I too, until my hands turned red, I clapped. And I clapped. Wow, yeah. I've been there before where you kind of regret something and you just like imagine this perfect scenario where like you did something else and it all turned out great. Ding dong.
レナちゃんじゃない？いつもの時間だから迎えに来たんじゃない？
I looked up at the clock. It was 5 minutes past my time to meet with
圭
Rena.
一、しばらく学校を休んだ方がいいんじゃないのか？
そうだね。気を使ってくれてありがとう。
I rose from my seat. I went to the entrance to greet Rena.
おはよう。
Good
今日か
morning.
ら集団登校だから。遅れちゃダメだよ。
Ah, that's right. If we, the ones furthest away, were to be late, the younger kids on the way there would be waiting for
俺
us.
さ、今日からしばらく休むことにするよ。学校。
Aww.
うん。
Rena answered shortly, nodded.
圭一くんが自分の体に一番優しい過ごし方を選ぶべきだと思う。だから別に引け目を感じることなんかないと思うな。それからこれ回覧板お母様に渡しておいてくれるかな。いろいろ大事なお知らせがあるみたいだから。
I took the notice. There were a lot more pages than normal. The one on top announced the disappearance of the mayor, Rika-chan and Satoko, and that they wanted any information about them. It made my heart ache.
警察も必死に探してくれてる。きっと見つかるから。待ってよ。ね。
Rena said, smiling in an attempt to give me courage. Rather than that, though, her smile looked like it was because she herself wanted to believe they were
レ
safe.
ナは俺を問い詰めないんだな。
うん。
Nope.
レナは知ってるんだろ。
You know,
俺があの晩。
西宮殿に忍び込んだことかな。
oh wow. Okay, so she does know. So does literally everyone in the town know? Like everyone just knows? I was speechless for a moment, but then I bit my lips, made up my mind, and nodded a little.
筒抜けなんだな。まったく悪いことはするもんじゃないよ。
みーちゃんはすごく怒ってたよ。
She was really mad. So she was upset. I suppose she would have been.
でもね、きっとみーちゃんが怒ってたのは忍び込んそれを隠していたことだと思うの。
Oh wow.
圭一くんは自分から言い出して謝らなくちゃいけなかったんじゃないかな。
I should have told her myself and apologized. That troubled me. Just 1 week ago, I did something that I myself should have apologized to Mion for. I'd hurt her badly. However, I hadn't realized that at all. Plus, with all the confusion that Shion's appearance had brought, I still hadn't been able to talk to Mion about it.
言う通りだな。俺はいつもレナに教えられるまで。
圭一くん、もしもだよ。もしも圭一くんが悪いことをしたことをすぐに認めてみーちゃんに謝っていたら、リカちゃんとさとこちゃんはいなくならずに済んだのかな。
I couldn't answer right away. I couldn't admit to that. Wasn't Rena telling me right now, though? That I should have admitted to my crime sooner? Yeah, I was about to say, it's like she's saying, like, I don't know if this is gonna make him feel any better, but it's like the hindsight of like, oh, you should have said something earlier. If I had done that and apologized, would things not have gone in such a horrible direction? Rena's eyes were filled with kindness, but they weren't naive enough to forgive me for keeping silent, and they started fixedly into my own.
ああ、そうだ。
Soda. If I had admitted to my crime sooner, then Rika-chan and Satoko wouldn't have had to die or disappear. Smack! The palm of Rena's hand slapped me in the cheek. I stood there unmoving, my head still tilted in the direction I'd been hit. It didn't hurt at all.
誰も圭一君のことを叱らなかったと思う。だから私が代わりに圭一君を叱るね。
I pressed my hand on my cheek, now warm with embarrassment, and quietly stared down at Rena's feet.
入ってはいけないところに勝手に入るのはとても悪いこと。それはわかる？
ああ。
返事ははいだよ。圭一君。
はい。
Yes.
そしてもっと悪いのは自分が悪いことをしたのを認めないこと。悪いことをするのはとてもいけないことだけど、それを認めて謝らないことはもっともっと悪いことなんだよ。
はい。
Yes.
僕が悪かったです。
For a few moments, Rena stared at me silently and intently, as if gauging my remorse. Then finally, the tension in her face softened, and she smiled.
じゃあもう時間だから私は行くよ。
ああ。
All
回
right.
覧板お母様に渡しておいてね。あと回覧板は暗くなったら持っていかないようにって注意付きだから。
I bent down to pick up the notice, which I dropped when she slapped me. The page had come out of a collapse and now making a mess on the floor. I gathered them up one by one. My hand stopped at a single more light-hearted page, with peaceful sentences dancing on it. We still have plenty of homemade soy sauce in stock. Feel free to come to the Sonozaki house if you want. Ooh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
なんだこれ。
I picked up the page and scanned the rest of it. There were stockpile high-quality soy sauce they got from faraway relatives in the Akita prefecture. They had gotten a big shipment recently. They could use it all, so they wanted anyone who wanted some of it to feel free to come over if what is what it said. As a PS, it said it arrived in a barrel and to please bring 2-liter bottles or other containers for it. That's how it tied together.
醤油をもらいに行くなら園崎家か。レナ、お前ひょっとして知ってたんじゃ。
うん、知ってた。
She knew. Rena had already been suspicious of Mion as soon as she noticed that the big bottle of soy sauce was missing. Rika-chan had taken the bottle and gone to Mion's house, and there she was erased. Rika-chan wasn't coming back, so Satsuko called Mion's house since she knew where she had gone, and then Satsuko got called there as well. The meeting on the day the mayor disappeared didn't... Oh, did she say that the 3 families participated in it? The 3 families would include Sonozaki's family. The 3 families would include the Sonozaki family. Didn't he also say that the current leader was really old, so her heir, Mion, frequently stood in her place at public appearances? While the mayor was returning from the shrine, Mion called out and stopped him. She talked to him and invited him to their house, and then she made him disappear. It was probably even simpler to make Shion disappear. Shion was part of the Sonozaki family. They probably knew exactly what she was doing at all times. I'm sure they even knew her part-time job schedule too. Thinking back, wasn't the Angel Mart store managed by the Sonozaki family? Setting up an ambush for her there would have been wouldn't have been any trouble at all.
ミオンのところへ行く。謝ってくるよ。もう全部終わりにしてもらう。ミオンはきっと簡単には許してくれないだろうけど、もうこれ以上誰も犠牲にならないように頼んでくる。
Sorry, I had to sneeze. I like paused the audio. Alright, so I guess we're going to, whatchamacallit? To her house. With that decided, there was no need for me to be lazing around here. I put her shoes and slipped past Rena to exit the house. When she stopped me.
私も行くよ。
レナ、学校はいいのかよ。
学校なんかよりもっと大切な用事だよ。
レナは来るな。この上レナまで巻き込まれたら俺は頭がどうにかなってしまうかもしれない。
Rena didn't move her arms, which was blocking my way.
ケイチ君までいなくなったら私も頭がどうにかなってしまうかもしれない。だからケイチ君だけを行かせない。
Damn, Rena's a homie in this chapter. Rena argued boldly as tears welled up in her eyes. I saw them and I knew the strength of her
分
resolve.
かった。行こう。ありがとう、レナ。
Rena nodded slightly but firmly and finally let down her arms blocking me. Let's go to Mion's house. I'll apologize for the crimes I've committed. Then we'll put an end to these twisted days. After that, I'll pray that once more we can return to those fun, lively days. With Rena following me, I left the house. In front of the house, there was a car waiting. It was Oishi-san.
やあ、おはようございます。前原さん、それから竜宮さんも朝から羨ましいですね。
Bruh, why are you being creepy? Wow, to be fair, he's kind of creepy this whole entire part. What a truly praiseworthy man he was. If he had been lying in wait so early in the morning just to pressure me into talking. On this morning, though, maybe it was actually a good opportunity.
警察の方ですよね。
ありゃ、竜宮さんには名乗ってませんでしたっけ？これは失礼しました。私、沖宮署の大石と申します。どうぞよろしく。
大石さんに喋るのか？
うん。ケイチ君の罪は私の平手だけであがなえるけど、みーちゃんの罪はこの人たちにあがなってもらわなくちゃいけない。
Whoa. Pain and sadness. The Naruto song? Oh no, wait, that's sadness and sorrow. I looked down and those emotions built up in my
大
heart.
石さんにお話があります。
はてはて、どんなお話でしょうか？ここで立ち話します？それとも車の中でしますか？
車の中でします。
I only continued to look down weakly. All I could do was be thankful for how dependable Rena was. At Rena's urging, I revealed everything to Oishi-san. The latter, while making sure to throw in murmurs that he was paying attention every now and then, took notes. We continued that way for a while.
どうです。話したらなんだか胸がすっきりしたんじゃないですか？
Come on, bro. You don't have to act like that. Oishi-san asked this while scratching his head with the ballpoint pen. Of course, I didn't feel better. The price that had been piled up until now for me not owning up to my crimes had been so immense. But as long as that payment wasn't returned, the load on my chest would never be removed. His radio started to emit static. Kugami?
はい、もしもし。
Kumagai.
大
Hello.
石です。
学校に先ほど欠席するとの連絡があったそうです。その先家前は
はいはい。引き続き見張りお願いします。ねははははは。答えに窮したら、実は居眠りしてて起こさないように言われてるとか、ごまかしといてください。
The radio
い
grew
や、失
silent.
礼。仕事の連絡でした。
今園崎家前は動きなしって言ってましたよね。
ありゃ、そんな風に聞こえちゃいました？そりゃ困ったな。秘密にしてくださいよ。課長から内定の許可はもらってないんですから。
Oyoshi-san had suspected Mion for a
事
long
情
time.
聴取も家宅捜査も、とにかく何にも許可が下りないんですよ。園崎本家を守ろうという園崎家の防衛機能がガッキガキに作用しちゃってるらしくて、令状がなくちゃ私たち現行犯以外は何にも手出しできませんからね。
大石さんってひょっとして。
Ren's tone of voice alone was enough to make her spite clear, and she stared at
園
Orochi-san.
崎家に踏み込めないものだから圭一君に踏み込ませようとしてたんじゃないですか。
レナ、それはどういう意味だ？
Yeah, Oyoshi-san's the type of guy to do
こ
shit
の
like
人
that.
は私の想像通りならとても卑劣な人。
人聞きが悪いですね。でもお説は拝聴しますよ。
Oyoshi-san lit a cigarette and responded to Rena, wearing an expression implying he was calm and willing to let her comment
あな
slide.
たは令状が取れないけれどみーちゃんが怪しいとずっと狙いをつけていた。圭一
Yes.
君を焚きつけて園崎家へ向かわせようと企んだ。そして圭一君に何かがあればそれを口実に踏み込むつもりだった。そうでしょう。
I only understood about half of what Rena was saying. I knew, however, that Oyoshi-san had been trying to use
そ
me.
の結果圭一君が襲われるかもしれないのに恥知らず。これが警察のやり方なの？
いやいや、こりゃとんだところに名探偵がいたもんです。いやはやいやはや。あなた、うちの試験受ける気ありません？刑事課配属の推薦状書いてあげてもいいですよ。
卑劣か。
Rena spoke quietly, her words dripping with honesty.
私もいろんな悪口を言われたもんですが、若いお嬢さんの短い一言が。
でも結果として今日までみーちゃんを逮捕しなかったことには。
そりゃどうも。
Oyoshi-san seemed to be enjoying his exchange with Rena. The things this man thought were like a swamp. They could barely see past the surface. It reminded me again of how much I disliked him. Yeah, he's very unlikable in this part. He was kinda likable in the first part, I guess, or at least like a sense of security of like, okay, you know what? If I'm in trouble, at least I have this guy to help me. But this time around, he is very despicable in this part.
さて、その園崎美音さんの親友であらせられるお二人は、私が証拠固めを終えて令状が請求できる。
そんなの待ちません。私たちが行ってみーちゃんを自首させます。
Ooh, we're gonna make her surrender. Damn, we're gonna fight her? That's right. If she turns herself in rather than be arrested, she might get a lighter sentence. At this point, perhaps that was the only pity I could find in me to afford to her.
さてさて、 そんなにうまくいくでしょうかね。下手すりゃあなたたちも無事では済まないかもしれませんよ。
Oshi-san was measuring our resolve. So, in a strong voice, I declared.
そんなのは覚悟の上です。
Oshi-san gave us an unpleasant yet seemingly satisfied grin. It was then I realized that this man was trying to use us for his own
もし私
convenience.
たちに何かあったなら、それを口実に踏み込んでください。犯人を取り逃がさないように、ぐるりと取り囲んでくださるのが一番の希望なんですが。
竜宮さんは交渉も上手です。参りましたよ。降参です。
I surrender.
どういうことだよ。
警察の人がみーちゃんの家を包囲しておいてくれるなら、これが万が一の時の保険になる。万が一の時の。
For the worst case scenario. Damn! Plus, it would be another way of pressuring Mion to give herself up, wouldn't it?
ああ、大石より熊ちゃんへ。大石より熊ちゃんへ。お友達が2人、園崎家へ遊び、増援をかけられるよう準備だけよろしく願います。
Their altogether too short conversation implied that our questioning was already part of their plan.
では、参りましょうか。お茶菓子でも買っていきます？
Neither Renner and I went along with Oishi-san's stupid joke. Yeah, fuck you, Oishi-san. Just take us there. We're already probably gonna get killed off. Oishi-san stopped the car at the place where we always waited for Mion. Come to think of it, I'd never been to Mion's house before. I only heard that it was right down this road.
お送りできるのは、情報では、園崎本家は自宅周辺に監視カメラをかなり、でもご安心を。何度か資格をついて突入できる位置に若いのがな、指向性マイクで中を伺ってますから、お二人が大きな悲鳴を上げてくだされば、すぐにわかりますよ。
絶対に説得しますから、自首を認めてくださいね。
In both our eyes was determination. It was the only method available to us for lightening the sins of our good friend.
くれぐれも注意してください。今さら信じないでしょうが、できることなら、あなたたち。
本当に今更だな。
With a rude response, we left the car. The clinging humidity and voices of the cicadas greeted us. Well, I'd never have expected this would be happening today.
行こう、ケイチ君。
Rena took the lead and began to walk down the road I'd never
レ
been.
ナはミオンの家には行ったことがあるんだよな。
うん、何度もあるよ。とても大きな家でね。お庭なんか山が丸ごと入るくらいあるんだよ。松茸が取れるとかなんとかで、いつもは柵がしてあるんだけどね。
Big enough to fit a mountain. That's amazing. One of the three families controlling Hinamizawa and the head family of the Sonozaki clan. Perhaps there was something to be said about its magnitude. The path continued onward, level and uneventful. There were metal fences along its edges, and beyond them were woods with trees growing thickly. The fences were high, the top of them bent inwards, sticking out like sharp spears. Plus, there was dangerous-looking barbed wire wrapping them. No one could look at them and not feel intimidated. In addition, there were signboards hung up here and there along the fences. Private property of the Sonozaki family. Entrance forbidden. Beware of venomous snakes. Damn, what the... we have beware dog signs. They have beware snakes. Holy shit. Active security cameras. Intruders will be charged an entry fee of 1,000,000 yen.
この森、いや、山か。まるまる庭なのか。
$1,000,000. This forest, or should I say mountain, is this all their yard?
庭というか領地だね。
Oh my god. Domain expansion.
見ての通り私有地ではあるけど、手入れも何もしてないから散策ができるような気持ちいい森というわけでもないし。
She could say that again. It really did feel like a neglected savage woodland. It was dark and damp, and currently not a forest that made you want to go for a nice walk. Maybe that's just what happens when a landowner has too much land. Like Oishi-san said, there were security cameras hung up all over the place. Though they had been weathered by the wind and rain, casting doubt as to whether they were even
俺た
functional.
ちが来るの、ミオンはあれを通して見てるんだろうか。
見てないと思うな。だってみーちゃんの家は基本的におばあちゃんとみーちゃん本人の2人しか住んでないんだもの。カメラを見張ってる人がいないし。
Oh, it's only her and her grandma. What happened to her mom? They mentioned Mion's mom. I can't remember though. Did she die? What a useless security system.
みーちゃんのお父さんがいろいろ大変な人みたいでね。だから一族がみんなで集まるときにはちゃんと機能しているらしいよ。
That's right. Mion's father. He was a big shot Yakuza, wasn't he? Rana smoothly danced around the answer as she explained. Hold on, let me see. At last, a huge gate, as big as I'd imagined, appeared. Was she living by herself with her grandmother in a house with such a grand
いるかな。
gateway? I wonder if she's here. Beep. The old buzzer made a dull sound. Was it the cutoff in the middle and not getting to the house? We waited long enough without response for me to start thinking like that. However, we finally heard footsteps walking through the gravel on the other side of the gate. I nervously balled my hands, my palms now sweating into a fist. There was the clang of a bolt being released and the gate opened slightly. The person peeking out the gap was none other than Mion. Oh, it's just her.
こんな時間に珍しいね。
I have been expecting you.
二人とも学校は？
Nah, we hate school. Yeah, school sucks. Mion didn't seem all that surprised at visitors arriving in the morning, which wasn't a normal time. In fact, she almost seemed relaxed, as if she knew we were coming beforehand.
学校は？ケイちゃんはともかく、レナも？
Oof. Yeah, I expected Kei-chan. But you're here too?
二人とも不良なんだからな。
You two are such troublemakers. Mion laughed lightly in a way that the Mion we knew always did.
入りなよ。
Oh, let's come on in. She gestured for us to follow her. I hesitated for a moment, looking at Rena.
行こう。
Let's go. Rena smiled cheerfully, as if she were passing through the gates of a good friend's house, and then did just that. I rally myself and then go through the gates too. Bum, 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 bum. On the other side, it hadn't been maintained very well, but it was clear that the lot was magnificently wide. It wasn't quite what you think when you hear mansion, but it was very clearly a vast place.
ケイちゃんはうちに来るの初めてだったっけ？
ああ。でけえ家じゃねえか。
This house is enormous.
今時合掌造りなんて流行らないよ。観光資源にはなるかもしれないけどね。私は早くごくごく平均的な鉄筋コンクリートに建て替えてほしいと思ってるよ。
Mion dryly smiled as she said that, then closed the gates and relocked the heavy bolt. Damn, she
気にしない
relocked
で
the...
最近は物騒だからね。日中でもこれくらいはしておかないと。
ああ、そうだな。
Yeah, dangerous from you. I'm not locked in... Wait, was it? I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. Maybe it was my imagination, but I thought I saw her hit the... I saw the hit of a shadow in her smile.
では、ご案内申し上げます。どうぞこちらへ。
Okay, yeah, this is such a weird confrontation. She didn't even... Wait, did she ask, like, hey, why aren't you at school? She was just like, oh, that's a very strange visit. Strange to have you guys here. Mion bowed to us like a worker at a high-class hotel, then pivoted her on her heels and began to walk. Rena gripped my stiffening arm lightly.
ケイチ君、硬くなりすぎかな。
Yo, this boy is always fucking tense, bro.
私たちはみーちゃんに会いに来たんだよ。そんなに緊張することはないんだから。
That's right. When I get nervous, I tend to let everything show on my face. I'll stop tensing up. Even if something were to happen, there's two of us. Oishi-san subordinates were waiting outside the gate for us too. There was nothing to worry about. After thinking about it that much, I realized my nervousness was already gone and laughed at myself.
なんだこりゃ。
What is
ミオン
this?
この新聞紙の上に置いてある漬物石はなんだ？邪魔だぞ。
Wait, what's up? What is this, Mion? What is up with this stone on top of the newspapers? Stone? There were a pile of newspapers on the floor of the entrance, and there was a large rock on top of them. I didn't understand why something like that was here. Brenna noticed me looking at it questioningly, and
レ
giggled.
ナは知ってるのか？これはなんだ？何かのおまじないか？
Oh my god, dude. I hate being out of the loop of things. Like, it's like they both know what this implies. Ugh. Keiichi's like the only one who's just like, yeah, listen, guys, I have no idea what the
ケ
fuck
イ
you
ちゃ
guys
ん
are
がよ
doing.
くわからないなら、それをどかしてそこに靴を脱いでもいいんだ。
ケイチ君、その石の真上にね、ツバメの巣があるの。
え？あ、本当だ。
人様の家なのに、ツバメが勝手に入ってきて巣を作ってるってわけ。代々語り継いでるのか、季節になると決まってここに巣を作るんだよ。迷惑してるんだけどね。
つまりね、そこはツバメの糞とかが落ちてきて危ないから、靴を脱がないようにっていう目印なの。
Oh wow, really? I couldn't help but laugh at the silly contrivance. My laughter naturally spread it to the other two.
園崎家も大昔養蚕とかやってたことがあるらしくてね。ご先祖様はツバメ退治に躍起になったそうだけどね。それを思うと、これはちょっと罰当たりなのかな。ま、上がって上がって。
The inside of the house wasn't very bright at all. It was dimly lit. In fact, but mysteriously, I I could still feel an elegance to the place. Mion seemed to want more modern buildings, but traditional houses like this aren't bad either.
冗談でしょ。隙間風は入るし、冬場は寒いし。
Yeah, I was about to say, like, Japanese people usually sleep on like tatami mats. I don't know how warm tatami mats are. And also like, they usually use futons. So they sleep on the floor. So I would imagine like winter would just be hell to sleep in.
人の家を勝手に文化財にして改築を妨害しないでもらいたいね。一番の理想はケイちゃんの家でしょ。あれは羨ましいよな。
Oh, so that's why she's doing all this, because she wants my house.
冬場は暖かそうだし。あ、でも雪下ろしは大変かもね。
雪下ろしは大変って。
Snowfall's a
そんなに雪
problem?
が降るのか、ひなみ沢は。緯度は関東より南なくらいだろ。ここいらって暖かい土地なんじゃないのか。
Okay.
ケイチくん知らないの？
Bro, I just got
南
here.
沢は豪雪地帯なんだよ。大雪が降るとみんな埋まっちゃうの。玄関なんか埋まっちゃう時もあるんだよ。止めた車が完全に埋まっちゃって見つからないことだってあるんだから。
I wasn't aware of that. Hinamizawa was that bad a place in the winter? Come to think of it, my dad, he said something like, this place got plenty of snow, so we can have fun building igloos. Still, your front door getting buried? Not being able to find your car? That's way too much snow. Oh my god, that was us like this year. Like this year where I live, holy shit, the snow just piled up. Ahaha.
地理の授業で習ったでしょ。
You remember from geography class?
日本海側は大陸からの寒風がそのまま流れてくるからね。山脈で遮られてぬくぬくしてるような軟弱な太平洋側とはわけが違うんだから。
The softies.
軟弱でもぬくぬくでもなんでもいい。
Dude, being softy is
寒いの
great.
は嫌だ。
I actually like the cold. I just don't like it when the snow piles up too much, but I actually genuinely like the cold. I think it's a good season.
これは今年の冬はケイちゃんを寒さに慣らすための強化合宿が必要だね。
嫌だ嫌だ、全力で嫌だ。寒いのは嫌いだ。強化合宿も嫌いだ。両方合わさったらもっと嫌いだ。
I hate them put together. Mion laughed more uproariously than she ever had, then told us she'd bring out some tea and left her seat for a moment.
でもね、冬は冬で楽しいことがいっぱいある。冬の部活もね、きっと楽しいんだよ。
I bet our club will be in a blast
冬の
then.
部活か。実に嫌な響きのある部活だぞ。寒中水泳やら雪中行軍やら。
But it's not the same club anymore. Not after they killed Rika-chan. Well, we don't know that yet.
ここはいつから八甲田山になったんだ。
確かに冬場の罰ゲームは辛いの。雪が降ってる校庭でリオのカーニバルをさせられたことある。
What? Did you dress up in the full carnival like style, like clothing, like costumes? I see the terror of our club cared not for the season. The victor would be decided by who could best adapt to the winter only events.
雪合戦もやるし、かき氷の大食いとか雪中宝探しとか。
Shaved ice eating competition. I ain't doing that, bro.
だからなんで外で遊ぶんだよ。雪が降ってんだからぬくぬくとお部屋でテーブルゲームで遊べばいいじゃないかよ。
ケイチくん、そんなこと言ってると冬場はいっぱい負けちゃうかもね。
Okichi-kun.
ケイチくん、罰ゲームいっぱいでレナは負けない。
はうじゃねえ。
Don't give me the how. I settled things with a cross chop to the head.
盛り上がってるな。壁が薄いんだからぶち抜かないようにしてよね。
The paper sliding door opened and Mion returned with a pod and a complete
お茶
tea
受けは
set.
ごませんでいい？
Do you want some sesame senpai to go with it?
羊羹とか気の利いたものがなくて申し訳ないね。
あ、いいよいいよ。別にお茶を飲みに来たわけじゃないし。
Then what did we come here for? And with those words, the smile disappeared from Rena's face. She did it. The one careless statement reminded us of what we had nearly been able to forget. I had wanted to enjoy this peaceful time for a little longer, but we put an end to it with those honest, careless words. Then she noticed the smile disappear from Rena's expression. Mion too changed hers. It was as if the cheerful air that was like a warm spring day until a moment ago had slipped through the cracks in the paper door and altogether disappeared. There was no point in regretting it now. We did not come here today to chat and enjoy ourselves. Mion silently poured the tea. During the time, Rena and I sat kneeling without uttering a word.
どうぞ。召し上がれ。
We couldn't even mutter a word of acknowledgement for those natural words of courtesy.
毒なんか入ってないよ。そこまで信用ないかな。
Oh my
信
god.
頼だね。
Mion gave a bitter smile at that and let her shoulders droop. Damn, why is everyone moaning? Whoa. We all remained silent. We remained silent, hoping that someone else would speak up first. That was, however, the only thing we didn't want to do. And so we set off for a long time. We sat for a long time, sorry. At last Mion smiled scornfully and opened her mouth to speak.
おいおい。ケイちゃんも俺、客はそっちなんだよ。用があって来たんじゃないの？そっちから切り出してくれなきゃ、おじさんも困っちゃうんだけどな。
Rena and I exchanged glances. We both resigned ourselves. Rena opened her mouth to speak first, so I stopped her.
ケイチくん、
いいんだ。俺は来るべくして俺から喋らせてくれ。
うん。わかった。
ケイちゃんが私に、何の話かな？お宅のお嬢さんを私にください。
Oh my god. Stop laughing at me.
ダメだよ。うちのレナはケイちゃんとは釣り合わないね。
Whoa. Can't do that. My little Rena and Keiichi-kun aren't meant for each other.
味噌汁で顔を洗って出直しておいで。
Afterwards, I thought her mean remarks were Mion's own way of showing consideration. Mion had said these mean things in a totally normal voice, and it drained the tension from my
ミ
shoulder.
オ、まず謝ることがある。
ケイちゃんが何を？
Mion pretended that she didn't know what I was talking about, but I clearly gotten to the point. I clearly gotten my point across.
綿流しの晩、俺は神社の祭具殿に入ったんだ。
I could see Mion's expression immediately become harder. Oh wow, he really just went out and said it.
入ってはいけない場所だったのは知ってた。でもほんのちょっとした探検のつもりで悪気はなかったんだよ。でもいけないことだったんだよな。謝る。この通り。
To my display, to display my deepest sincerity, I pressed my forehead to the table. I meant it as a way of prostrating myself. I figured it would feel sincere enough if I raised my head right away, so I let it there on the table for a while. Mion didn't say anything. With my face down, I couldn't tell what sort of expression Mion had. Only the voices of the cicadas filled the room. Mixed with them, I could hear the sound of the clock ticking. That was all. When I started to struggle to breathe from having my head down for so long, Mion told me to stop.
参ったな。いきなり直球勝負で来るとは思わなかったよ。参った参った。
I looked up to see what Mion's face was. Calm, but she was smiling faintly.
ケイちゃんにとっては面白半分の探検でも、それが笑い事では済まないと思ってる人たちも大勢いるってことを、ちょっとでも理解してくれたなら。それでいいよ。郷に入りては郷に従えって昔から言うもんね。
あれからもう何日も経ってる。今更だとは思うが謝る。悪かった。許してくれ。
I could feel pitiful tears welling up within me. If I had done this sooner, maybe nothing terrible would have happened.
いいよ。ケイちゃんが悪いことをしたと思ったならそれでいいんじゃない？
Mion spoke like it was someone else's problem and wasn't happy about it.
みーちゃん、ケイチ君はちゃんと真面目に、みーちゃんも真剣に答えてあげるべきじゃないのかな。
私は真剣だよ。レナには私が不真面目そうに見える？
見えるよ。
Oh wow, just straight up calling her out. Like, yeah, you're not being serious. Rena was giving her tit for tat, and so the room's atmosphere quickly began to grow sharper. She was right. Even though I came here to speak from the heart like this, it felt like she wasn't being taken this. She hasn't been taking this seriously. Obviously, Rena isn't fond of that.
ケイチ君、もういいよ。全部話そう。みーちゃんもそれを望んでいるようだし。
I had known it would turn out like this from the beginning. Hadn't I come here prepared for that? I mustered my willpower and began my lifts.
ミオ、おとといリカちゃんとサトコを呼んだろ。
覚えはないけど。
I don't remember doing so. No, I didn't do that, of
そう
course.
思うに足る根拠があるなら聞かせてもらえる？
夕方過ぎのお夕食前の時間、リカちゃんが来たはずだよ。お醤油の大瓶を持ってお裾分けしてもらいに。
Mion was trying to keep from showing any reactions, but I didn't miss her eyelids twitching just a little bit.
どうしてそう思う？
そんなに難しい話じゃない。みーちゃんも見たでしょ？リカちゃんの部屋。
Mion put a finger to her forehead and acted like she was
冷や
thinking.
やっこがあるのにお醤油がなかった。そして流しの下にあるはずの醤油の大瓶も ビンゴとなかった。
何それ。それが私のとこへ来る理由になるわ。
ミオ、いい加減にしろ。お前が自分で回覧板に書いたんじゃないか。醤油をお裾分けするって。
Mio scratched her head. Oh wow. I actually think I like these two more. This one, the expression of this one actually works with this one. Like these two work fine. This one's actually the one different one. This one doesn't quite have that same like sinister smiling looking thing. I heard her ever so faintly click her tongue. It was as though we found out she purposely given too little change to a servant. That's all I could feel from her.
そしてみーちゃんは、リカちゃんを、隠してしまった。
Brenna hesitated for a moment. I could tell that she didn't want to use the word erased and that she was struggling to find another word.
本当はそれで終わりのはずだったんだよね、みーちゃんにとっては。
そりゃあどういう意味かな。
リカちゃんがみーちゃんの家に行くことをさとこちゃんに言い残していたのは誤算だったんじゃないかな。
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What the fuck was that?
そしてさとこちゃんはみーちゃんの家にうちのリカがお邪魔してませんこと？うん。きっとこんな感じ。
似てる似てる。
みーちゃんはちょっとまずいと思ったんだよね。リカちゃんがここに来たことを知る人間がいたから。だからさとこちゃんも誘い出そうと思った。
誘い出す？へえ、どんな感じでかな。
Mion prodded Rena on as if trying to get a good part of an interesting story. I, however, knew I had been watching Mion change this whole time. She was restlessly twirling her fingers, and she had clearly lost her calm. Of course, it was really a silent thing, and only I, who had been watching her this whole time, would have known. Mion was panicking. What Rena was saying must have been a bullseye.
きっとこんな感じだよ。さとこ、実は今日食事を作りすぎちゃったんだけど、食べに来ない？リカちゃんは先に来て、もう食べてるよ。こんな感じ。
Scratch. Mion's nails dug into her knees.
へえ、電話の内容の記録テープがあるわけでもないのに、どうしてそこまで。
冷蔵庫にさとこちゃんの作った2人分のお夕食が丸々手つかずでラップに包まれて入ってたから。
Oh shit. Okay, this was not good. This one's good. Mio's face froze in utter amazement. She looked like she couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe that this person in front of her was Rena.
そんなことで、どうやったら電話で喋った内容まで察しがついちゃうわけ？
長くなるから説明は省くけど、冷蔵庫の中身がみーちゃんの呼び出した話の内容まで如実に物語っちゃってるの。
Mion's jaw remained on the floor, looking like a One Piece character. That was the only way I could describe her face.
これは。
Uh-oh, are we gonna get a crazy face?
とんだ名探偵が身近にいたもんだよ。まさか、冷蔵庫の中身だけで、電話の内容まで見破るとは。参ったな。参った。
What the fuck? As if a dam had bursted, Mion's convulsive convulsed into laughter. Her laughter, though, definitely didn't make me want us to laugh as well. Mion grew tired of her dumb laughter, heaved as a big sign, and scratched her head. It almost seemed like Mion had lost a detective punishment game for the club or something, and her punishment had been decided. Oh, how fun that would have been if they were true.
とんだ名探偵か。みーちゃんこそ大石さんがした会話の内容までよく察しがつく。大石さんも私のこととんだ名探偵って言ったもの。
As soon as she heard Oishi-san's name, Mion's eyes began to display panic, more clearly so that anyone would be able to tell.
ミオン、警察はもうとっくにお前を疑ってるんだ。
They suspected you for a long time, bitch.
この家も大石さんの部下が踏み込もうと今も様子を伺ってる。
Mion attempted to feign calm, but it looked like she was having a hard time with it. Part of her couldn't believe that the police had her surrounded, and she closely examined Rena's facial expression. However, she couldn't detect hints of falsehood. Finally, Mion seemed to accept the fact that the police were encircling the house.
村長さんもみーちゃんが。
Was the mayor Mi-chan too?
富武さんと高野さんもミオンなのか？
Mion didn't answer our rapid-fire question. I could clearly see impatience in her eye, which were still feigning calm. At last, Mion, who had been sitting there lazily, readjusted her cushion and sat herself upright. At the moment, the atmosphere in the room changed completely. Mion's expression also changed. The impatience and wonderment in her expression disappeared, and she became so solemn you would think she was about to conduct a tea ceremony. I could sense it. I knew it now in this moment. Mion had ceased to be Mion, but had changed into Mion Sonosaki, the current heir to the Sonosaki house. The solemn atmosphere about her was clearly abnormal, and was entirely different from that of the Mion that I knew. Now I could believe it. That she was the young leader who commanded the entire Sonosaki clan. Mion quietly placed both her hands on the tatami mat and gave a beautiful, elegant bow as if this really were a tea ceremony, and named
初めて
herself.
ご挨拶申し上げます。園崎本家当主跡継ぎミオンでございます。
Mion's movements were elegant, they could cut, and we couldn't even answer her. All Rena and I could do was watch, baffled at her actions, which we could never imagine the normal her
本
doing.
日はようこそ園崎本家においでくださいました。当主お涼に代わりまして皆様にご挨拶申し上げます。皆様におかれましてはいろいろお尋ねになりたいことがおありの様子。
Iroiro? Is that the way she said it? Iroiro? It seemed as though you have various things you would like to ask.
私にお話しできることでしたら包み隠さずお話ししたいと存じます。
What? What did Mion just say? Mion said she would answer anything we asked. There were a strong light of resolve in her
本
eyes.
当に何を尋ねてもいいんだな。
知る限りをお話しいたしましょう。皆様もそれを望んでここにいらしたのでしょうから。
Rena and I exchanged glances. There was a mountain of things we wanted to ask Mion. However, we hesitated for a moment on what we should ask first. The first question Rena gave was extremely abstract, but it was the question everyone wanted to know right now.
どうしてこんなことを？
I would ask, like, is Rika-chan alive? Is Rika-chan and Satoko alive? Like, that would be the first thing I would ask. Because, I mean, come on. They did not deserve what I presume happened to them. Boom, 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 boom. I really like the song, by the way. This is a very nice song. That was what I wanted to ask as well. Why would you do this? That didn't only go for Rika-chan and Satoko. It went for the mayor, Takano-san, and Tomotaka-san as well. No, even further back, for all the incidents that had been occurring every year. For a while, Mion couldn't respond. Right when we realized that the question was too vague and tried to put it into more concrete terms, she finally opened her mouth to speak.
その問いに対する答えは、それでもよろしければ、どうかご清聴いただきたく存じます。
She spoke clearly. She spoke with clarity that her grandmother might use when telling a story from a long time
南
ago.
沢村がかつて鬼ヶ淵村と呼ばれていたことをご存知ですか？
Rena nodded lightly, then shot me a glance, asking me if I did. I returned to her nod. Hinamizawa was once called the Onigafuchi village, yes. I heard all about it the night from Takano-san in the ritual storehouse. They firmly believed that demon blood ran through their veins and cut off all contact with the outside world. They were worshipped. They were worshipped by those in the village at the foot of the mountains, and treated like transcendents, those capable of magic.
そうです。鬼ヶ淵村のご先祖様たちは、鬼の血を引く誇り高き仙人たち、麓の村々の人たちは、崇め、そして敬いました。ですが、そういう空気も、徳川の世が終わるとともに廃れていきました。
Descendants from the demons, those in the village worshipped and honored them. Nevertheless, that decay with the end of the black ships arrived. The era of the samurai ended. The era of national isolation ended, and the traditions of worshipping Onigafuchi village quickly disappeared. Those things that lingered from the past were all to be detested. That was the kind of era it became.
古い歴史を持つ鬼ヶ淵村の名称は一方的にひなみ沢村に改められてしまいました。古い因習を一掃しようとする明治政府の思惑が強く働いたのだと聞かされています。
The abolition of feudal domains and the establishment of prefectures. The era had begun. See Japan spiriting up the stairs that were beyond their means to try to reach the same level of the rest of the world. All things in the Western style were to be extolled, while the old traditional things were to be scorned. That was the sort of era it was.
そういう時代の激変の中で、滝壺に落ちていく花びらのように。
Okay.
あっという間に鬼ヶ淵村は消えてしまったのです。
At last, Japan, provoked by the great Europeans' powers colonizing countries in Asia one by one, began a policy to increase its wealth and military power so that it could stand as a global power in its own right. Conscriptions began, and they won war after war. The first Sino-Japanese War and the Russo-Japanese War, and until the Pacific War broke out, they recklessly climbed the staircase towards modernization.
この頃にはもう鬼ヶ淵村の不可侵性は失われていました。かつて仙人と崇められた村人たちは否認扱いを受け、 神聖な鬼ヶ淵村はいつの間にか合病患者の隔離集落の慣れの果てであるという根も葉もないレッテルを貼られ、苦難の時代を迎えることになったのでした。
Thus began the harsh days where one would suffer unreasonable discrimination just because people knew one was from Onigafuchi. The children in the village at the foot of the mountain were taught not to go near Hinamizawa because filthy germs were rampant there. Children who had come into contact with children in Hinamizawa would cry and wail as their parents purified the spot they were touched by rubbing salt on it. One of the adults said that the children that if you've gone lost in Hinamizawa, you would be kidnapped by demons, cut up into pieces, and devoured. Never ever go near that terrifying village of the man-eating demons. That was what he taught them. Another said that during the famine long ago, the people of Hinamizawa gathered up all the corpses they discarded into the dry river beds, then cooked and ate them in order to survive. Groundless stories, but said in such a seriousness. Baseless slander added to the baseless slander, making Onigafuchi village historically accurate, thrilling history all that more believable. Perhaps the chain of undue discrimination had a manifestation of the people's anxiety towards the uncertain times. Of course, the stories didn't end only with the perspective of children. If anyone found out you were from Onigafuchi, you would be turned down from any job you applied for. People who would go back on engagements and marriage proposals. As for the marriage where one partner had lied about it, as soon as the truth got out, they would be made to divorce.
裁判も起こしました。出身の問題は離婚する重要な理由にはなり得ないと訴えて。でも敗訴しました。出身の虚偽は結婚の上での重大な詐称行為にあたるのだそうで。
ひどいね、そんなの。
I heard about such discrimination towards those in small villages in civic class. Just because others knew you were from a tiny hamlet, you would be subjected to every social disadvantage. There was a modern form of bullying, though I only memorized that because it was going to be on a test one time. I recall being suspicious about it and unable to believe such discrimination occurred in modern Japan.
まあ、自業自得と言えないこともないのかもしれません。私たちのご先祖様は自分たちに鬼の血が流れていることを誇りに思い、自慢し、麓の人々を蔑んで暮らしてきたのですからね。その神秘性で麓の村人たちを怖がらせ、畏怖と貢ぎ物の献上を要求してきたのですから。
With that, Mion smiled for the first time, albeit in a self-mockery.
太平洋戦争中は国民一丸のスローガンが流れながらも、ひなみざわ村の人々はさまざまな差別を受け続けました。数え出したらキリがないくらい、夫や息子を戦場に送り出し、15の女たちも心がすさんでいたのでしょうね。当時をよく覚えている祖母は、それは苦しい時代だったと回想しています。
Even the bitterly long war, however, finally ended in 1945.
多数の男手を失ったひなみざわにも、ようやく父や夫、 息子たちが戻ってまいりました。もちろん帰らぬ者も多かった。それでも男手がなく村を維持することにすら限界をきたしていたひなみ沢にとってそれはとても喜ばしいことでした。
Okay, okay. Sorry, I'm just checking the stream to see if it's still good. Okay. Wait, what was it? Hinamizawa lost many men. Of course, there were also many men who didn't come back. Nevertheless, for those in Hinamizawa who were at their limits, barely able to maintain the village without the men, their return was a very happy thing. MacArthur's GHQ set to work on drastically improving mindsets and strove for the abolition of unfair discrimination. Oh, whoops. They could feel day breaking on the dismal night that was the previous era.
寸前だったひなみ沢をもう一度立て直そう、そういう機運が高まり、村人たちは村を少しでも豊かにするために働き始めました。
During that time, someone appeared who built up a fortune through a vast number of dealings within the black market. That was Mion's grandfather, the husband of the elderly current family leader, Sohei Sonosaki.
ソヘイは中国大陸に出兵し、ハルピンで食料倉庫の管理をしていたといい、撤退時に上官や仲間たちと共謀して軍の缶詰をごっそりと盗み出していたのでした。それを瀬戸内海某所に隠し、闇市で高値で売りさばいて大きな富を得たのです。
Sohei didn't spend the fortune for his own pleasure either. He entrusted the entire amount to his wife. She had, his wife, the head of the Sonosaki house.
廃れたひなみ沢を復興させよう。村人すべては家族であり、この富は共有の財産である。現当主である祖母はそう宣言しました。この大きな富はその後のひなみ沢の復興の大きな力となったのです。
I see. With that, Hinamizawa came back to life, and that's how the Sonosaki family was established in its current prosperity.
もちろん、闇市で財を成したことを妬む人たちも大勢いましたが、もう村人は気にしなかった。
They succeeded at one business venture after another. Those who had succeeded freely supported those who followed them. The giant family of the Hinamizawa, tied together with the strong bonds, kept on expanding its influence. Sonosaki family, the center of everything, would be extolled for a long time as the minds behind Hinamizawa's revitalization.
その活躍の中心人物がみーちゃんのおばあちゃんなんだね。すごいよね、大活躍。
Mion looked like she was honestly happy Reno had praised her.
ですが、昭和30年頃にまたしても逆風が吹き発ち、それが人肉缶詰疑惑でした。
Canned flesh? It sounded so hideous that just hearing it made me nauseous.
園崎宗平の上官だったと名乗る男が告白したのです。あの缶詰は人肉の缶詰だったと。
Hinamizawa, a village in which demons lived and ate humans. They were just about to wipe away that cursed stigma. The light they had finally started to see in their peaceful lives grew hazy and disappeared. The shocking truth was revealed by a former superior. The stolen provisions from the old Japanese army that had been a huge cornerstone for Hidamizawa's revival had been canned human flesh. There were there cans like that? Why were there cans like that? Wasn't Sohei just the manager of food warehouses? His superiors revealed that Sohei Sonozaki did not have the job of managing the
実
food.
は宗平は戦時中ハルピンでペストネズミの駆除や伝染病患者の死体運搬の仕事をさせられていたのでした。
It had been unfair treatment, and all because of the lowliness of his origin. As a result, though, he had returned safely without having been sent to the front lines for being detained. Perhaps that was the only fortunate thing to happen to him. Finally, Sohei was enlisted as an assistant at the military medical institution. There, however, he found something even worse than the low, scorned, depressing customs of Onigafuchi village. In the research they were carrying out, could that have been, well, you know, the bacterial corpse in the old Japanese army or whatever? Well, what happened to the voice acting?
実は宗平は戦時中ハルピンでペストネズミの駆除や伝染病患者の死体運搬の仕事をさせられていたのでした。
Yeah, what the fuck? There were, however, he found something even worse than the low, scornful, depressing customs of Onigafuchi village. In the research they were carrying out, could that have been, well, you know, the bacteriological corpse in the old Japanese army or whatever? Keiji-kun, you've heard of that? What could it be? I was pretty sure it was Unit 731. It was a nightmare unit that devoted itself to researching terrifying bacterial weapons to break the deadlock in the war. Wow, they're actually... Wait, hold on. Yeah, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa. I'm actually... okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually kind of surprised. So Sohei... Okay, wait, hold on. I was kind of like... I wasn't bored by this, but I was definitely kind of like... You know, just casually reading through it. I wasn't really paying attention to... Like, okay, I'm paying attention. But it was definitely felt like just like an expedition dump. So I was kind of like chilling a little. Okay. As a result, though, he returned safely without having to in the front lines. So he didn't have to go to the front lines. Finally, Sohei was enlisted as an assistant at the Military Medical Institute. There, however, he found something even worse than the low, scornful, depressing customs of Onigafuchi village. In the research they were carrying out, could that have been, well, you know, the bacterial corpse in the old Japanese army or whatever? I'm pretty sure it was Unit 731. Okay, so the reason why I'm kind of taken aback right now is because it almost feels very taboo in Japanese media to ever mention this history in Japanese, like World War, specifically in like World War II, like what they did in, like, you know, Namjing and like the Unit 731. So to me, it's very strange to see a game openly bring that up. It was a nightmare unit that devoted itself to research terrifying bacteriological weapons to break the deadlock in the war. Yeah, they even talk about it. They use many innocent people as fodder for horrible human experiments. They methodically observed how many days a new strain would take to kill victims. Is that why this is not voice acted? Is it so taboo that you cannot talk about it even as a voice actor? Maybe you can write about it, especially in like a doujin game like, you know, Higurashi, which is just an independently produced and published game. But is it just like we can't talk about this? like is it just one of those things? I'm sorry, I'm just kind of like blown away by this. Like genuinely, I did not think it would bring this up. How many days it would take to be injected? How many days it would take? It would be when swallowed. They dissected many people to find that out. Sometimes they wouldn't bother waiting until they were dead. They dissected them while they were still alive. They would strap them into centrifuges while still alive and crush them in decompression chambers while still alive. When a live human decompressed, all the holes in their bodies get pushed on outwards, and their intestines get pushed out of their anus like a snake winding out of it. I have a feeling I saw something like that on a documentary one time. Mion agreed with me, giving a faint smile, a sad smile. Yeah, wait, hold on. Okay. It wasn't much in the way of communication, but for some reason I was happy to have it right now.
僧兵がいた部隊はそれよりはもっと温情的な研究をしていました。それは戦地での困難な食料調達に関する具体的な手法の研究でした。
The military designed at the start of the war completely fell apart, and a chronic food shortage broke out all over the battlefront. The food shortage led to malnutrition, and as well as natural resistance lowered the soldiers fell to one disease after another. Spirit and moral lowered as well. They wouldn't be able to maintain their forces at this rate. Apparently, that's where the research started. At first, it was to find methods of delivering food to the battlefields. It was a very broad and included things from violent methods like stealing it from citizens to survive, to survival methods like how to cook unfamiliar insects and plant life. As they were working out the details, they kept straying off course and going out of control, until finally they knocked down the door called taboo.
戦場で一番入手しやすいタンパク源は何だと思います？
Rena and I knew the answer without being told, so we didn't answer.
彼らは人間を食材として扱う方法を研究していたので、彼らは時には敵の、時には戦友の血肉をハンデでも戦い抜くことが国に報いる究極、そういう競技を大真面目に組み上げていった滑稽な話ですね。祖父を人肉食いと蔑んでおきながら、自分たちはさらにその上を言っていたのですから。祖父はいつも思っていたそうです。たとえ自分が卑しい食人鬼だとしても、彼らはそれよりもはるかに醜い鬼なんだと。だからいくら蔑まれたってちっとも答えないと。
At last, they had a handful of test prototypes. When the soldiers learned it was human flesh, however, the scientists couldn't make anyone eat it, so it was apparently sent to the front lines. The cans were labeled meats substitutes, and so that they wouldn't accidentally eat it themselves, they stamped the bottom with a
お
circle.
腹を空かせた前線の兵隊さんにはどの試作品もとても好評だった。中でも醤油で煮たすき焼き風のものが一番好評だったそうで。
もうやめてよみーちゃん。
Yeah, I'm about to say, Mion, you're getting very, very specific with all this
気
shit.
分が悪くなってきた。
Rena finally was pale-faced, and she looked like she was having difficulty continuing to sit on her knees. Mion looked like she had more to say, but she sighed lightly and stopped there.
そのミオンの実
真偽は分かりません。晩年まで宗平は人肉であることを否定ですが、ひなみ沢の急激な復興を妬む人々は人肉を売って財を成した鬼畜と呼び、村人をまたしても蔑み始めたのです。また子供たちが生やし立てられ、石を投げつけられる時代に戻ってしまったのです。
Then a stifling silence came back. What a seriously hopeless and sad story it was. They were discriminated against, discriminated, and were discriminated against. Why must they attach worth and rank to it? Why can't they live without looking down on people? Why can't everyone enjoy life together? I don't know.
当主である祖母はある時村の子供たちにこう言いました。
If they throw stones at one of you, then two of you must throw stones back. The children asked her, "What if they throw stones at two of us?" Of course, the answer was
2
simple.
人に石を投げられたら4人で石を、8人に棒で覆われたら16人で追い返し、30人に中傷されたなら60人で怒鳴り返せと。
Finally, the children asked, "What if they attacked by the 1,000 people?" Even that answer was simple.
1000人に襲われたならひなみ沢の全員で立ち向かいなさいと。それは決起を促す劇のようですらありました。祖母は園崎本家当主としてだけでなく、ひなみ沢の母太郎として立ち上がったのです。
It was halfway through 1955. It was a time when riots over the treaty with the U.S. were rampant, a time of battle and action. The people of Hinamizawa joined together and fought, treating unfair discrimination towards one as a crime against them all. It didn't matter whether one was a child or an adult. If they heard that a child had been told off, then everyone would crowd the house of the perpetrator, acting as a whole. If they heard an adult had been treated unfairly, men, women, young and old would all band together and stand up against it. If you meddled with people from Hinamizawa, you would be in trouble. They probably figured that if they could make others think that, they'd win.
ケイちゃんも町で不良に絡まれた時、たくさんの人たちに助けられたのを思い出しませんか？
How do you know that? I recalled, wait, hold on. I think my mic's a little too far. I recalled how much of an impression it had left on me. The people of Hinamizawa boldly came to my rescue, yet the people of Okinomiya averted their eyes so they wouldn't get involved.
祖母が戦い、両親がそれを引き継ぎ、ようやくひなみ沢にも平和が戻った。もっともその平和もとても薄い川の上に、この100年の歴史を見れば今の平穏など揺れ返す天秤のたまたまの狭間としか言えないでしょう。
どうして？
Why? Could I really have an opinion on such a long and difficult history when I haven't moved on here for more than a year ago? Yet I said it again.
どうしてみんなで仲良く暮らし合えないんだよ。高野さんに聞いたお社様の昔話はどうなったんだよ。
Man and demon joined hands and lived together in harmony. Didn't Oyashiro-sama remain in this world to watch
お
over
とぎ
that?
話です。人と鬼は実在しても、それを調停するお社様は実在しなかったということです。
それでお社様のたたりを起こすことになったの。
A cool gust of wind blew in from outside, fluttering Mion's long, beautiful, clear hair. Mion kept a refreshing smile without answering and didn't change her expression, but even that became a silent answer.
ひなみ沢村を 再び鬼ヶ淵村のように崇められるに足る神聖な存在に。それが我ら鬼ヶ淵村の末裔の悲願であり、園崎本家の鬼を継ぐ者の宿命なのです。
鬼を継ぐ者？
我が園崎本家は代々当主の名に鬼の一字を加える習慣があるのです。私の名前を手のひらにでも書いていただければ一目瞭然かと。
I traced the word Mion on my palm of my hand. Oh, she's right. The characters of her demon is in
名
there.
前だけではありませんよ。この体にも鬼が刻まれているのです。
When she said that, she quietly rose up and began to lay her hand on her clothes.
いいよみーちゃん、見せる必要なんて全然ない。
ありがとう。
With just that exchange, I guess what she meant was most likely somewhere on her body. There was a permanent seal, such as a tattoo or marking, that proved she inherited the demon. Mion didn't sit back down. She smoothly opened the paper door onto the porch. The refreshing breeze began to cleanse the damp air filled the room. Mion quietly gazed out at the wide yard for quite a while. On her shoulder was something I could never imagine the normal Mion carrying. It was the heavy, truly heavy history of Hinamizawa, no, of Onagafuchi, weighed down on them. What kind of words could I possibly say to Mion like that? Rena wasn't saying anything to her either. Only the voice of the cicadas drowned out the silence. At last, after a long period of nothing, Mion
この5
murmured,
年間の連続事件ね。私が直接関わったものもあるし、間接的に関わったものもある。いくつかは園崎家だけでなく、他の御三家の君吉家や古出家が関わっているものもあるけど、その全ての中心に私がいたと思う。
She said it all without turning around, with her back to us. At some point, her tone of voice had gone back to being the Mion we knew.
私は自分のしたことには信念を持ってるし、罪の意識などまるであるとすれば、私の後継ぎも決まらないうちに舞台を退かねばならないことくらいかな。私を捕まえて、それで法治国家の体裁が整うなら、それも時代の流れかなって。この100年で一番平和なひなみ沢を見ながら引退できるのは、ひょっとすると歴代の園崎家の当主で一番の幸せなのかもしれないし。
Mion leaned her a shoulder against the paper door, then slid down it and flopped on the ground. It was an act of such resignation that just seeing it made me hurt inside. The numerous terrible crimes Mion had been a part of suddenly began to fade from my mind. Hey Mion, I don't care what happens after this. Can't you just try to struggle as much as you can? Try to run away. As soon as I began to think that way, Rena's ringing voice filled the room.
でもみーちゃんはリカちゃんとさとこちゃんを
Yeah, it's kind of hard to forgive her.
殺したんだよね。
It's kind of hard to forgive her when it comes to those two. Like, as a person, I guess you can kind of like dismiss bad actions if you don't see them or you're not associated to people. It's a lot easier to do that. But then when it's someone you specifically know, like that's when it becomes really hard. And it was Rika-chan and Satoko. They were like so innocent. A sharp point of words stabbed into my chest despite not being directed at me.
他の人のことは殺してもいいとも言わないよ。でもとにかくみーちゃんは
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. It's not okay for you to kill anyone, but
リ
bro.
カちゃんとさとこちゃんを殺した。
Rena's words were more biting than any I have ever heard. Even now that we knew all the heavy history pressed down on Mion's shoulder, she had criticized her for killing our friends.
私が園崎家の役目を負うように、リカちゃんだって古出家の役目を負ってい、その役目が西宮殿を守ることだった。
My chest
去
tightened.
年あたりからリカちゃんが言ってたのは知ってたんだよ。西宮殿の勘抜きが重くて辛い。もっと簡単な鍵に付け替えたいって。先代の神主さんでも重いと嘆いてた代物。リカちゃんに辛いのは重々承知だった。
僕がちゃんと番をしますですから、もっと軽い鍵に変えてほしいなのです。
I replied on the behalf of the Sonozaki family leader. Ever since the string of freak deaths incidents, there were seemed to be people who were isolated towards Yashiro-sama, so you shouldn't replace the lock with the simpler one. That said, the leader of the Kimiyoshi family, Old Man Kimiyoshi, if it's the difficult for you, Rika-chan, then I think it's okay to replace the lock, he said. The very fact that it was the lock with the key was an indication that it being somewhere we mustn't enter. There's nobody bad enough to break through it and go inside, he said. Even if we were alike as leaders, I couldn't find it in me to argue with an old man Kimiyoshi since I owed him so much. In the end, we decided to change out the lock of the storage house and switch it with a really cheap and light padlock.
おじいちゃん、本当に大丈夫なんですか？バッチャもできることなら鍵は前のままの方が良かったと言ってます。
大丈夫だよ。心配性だな。何かあったらおじいちゃんがちゃんと責任を取ってあげるから。
Wow, that's like Mion's catchphrase, this old
本当
man.
ですね。君吉家の当主として責任を取られるという意味ですね。おじいちゃんもこの中に収められているものがどれだけ新鮮。
大丈夫なのですよ。このひなみ沢に鍵を開けて勝手に入ってしまう悪い猫さんはいませんなのです。にゃーにゃー。
Sobs escaped from my mouth. Something hot and wet dripping down in spades and fell onto the tatami mat.
西宮殿に賊が忍び込んだという話は、渡流しの祭りのさなか賊は4人、その日のうちに手が下される同時に、西宮殿に賊を許した古出家のリカちゃんと君吉家のおじいちゃんも責任を問わなければならなくなってしまった。
So, like, she's straight up admitting, like, yeah, we had them killed. Tears dripping and dropping. Until just now, I had decided that it was Mion's fault that she killed Rika-chan and the others. That was wrong. The one who killed them wasn't Mion. It was me.
殺したも当然なんだ。
ケイチ君。
I had a chance to stop this tragedy from happening, and yet I didn't. Cheap curiosity got the better of me, and I didn't. If at the time I had stopped us from sneaking into the ritual storehouse, Rika-chan and the others wouldn't have had to die. If I had, then nothing would have happened. We would have spent our days having a lot of fun like we always did.
バカだった。
If I shed tears, I couldn't take it all back. Then I would have filled up the room with them. However, such a meager act wouldn't be enough to redeem myself for the crimes I have committed.
ケイちゃんは何も悪くないよ。
Mion gently began to speak to me, as if trying to reason with me.
私は園崎家の当主として園崎家の歴史なんか今にして思えば大したもの。そんなもの全部投げ出しても私は仲間を救うべきだったのかもしれない。私がそんなものに屈したからあの二人を殺してしまった。
Whoa! She actually just said it! Because she was kind of like, they kind of like went away or whatever, but she actually just straight up said, yeah, I killed them.
それは他でもない。私園崎美音が殺したということ。私には踏みとどまる100億の瞬間があった。でも踏みとどまらなかった。安易に自らの役割に屈し仲間のために戦うことを放棄してしまった。だからこれは私の罪。 私が殺した。園崎ミオンがこの手で殺してしまった。それは何ら変わらない。何も。
Her masochistic laughter was sad, especially because Mion boasted in the club that she would turn the tables on whatever predicament presented themselves. It was so painful.
でもみーちゃんは自分の意志で一人だけ救ったんだね。
え？
As I looked at her, surprised, Rena stuck a finger right at my
圭
forehead.
一君だけをこんなにも強い力を持つみーちゃんなら造作もなかったろうに。
Yeah, why is Keiichi still alive?
殺さなかったんだよね。
That's right. Mion was so cunning that nobody could stand up to her. Even in our club, if she had seriously tried to kill me, I would have been dealt with on the very first night. So many people had been sacrificed, but I was always left out in the cold. Then I realized, when did I first realize it? Even though people were disappearing one after another, for some reason I had a vague belief that only I would be left alive.
さて、どうして殺さなかったのかね。鬼の私にゃ見当もつかないわ。ミオンの方に殺したくない都合でもあったんじゃないの？
そりゃどういう意味だよ。
What is that supposed to mean? Mion put her finger to her lips, saying that Rena didn't need to talk.
大石は外で待ってんの？
うん。
逃げ場は？
ない。ぐるっと囲んでるって言ってた。無線でたくさんの車が来てるみたいだったよ。
We have the place completely surrounded. It seemed like they called a lot of cars over
みーちゃん
the
ちの
radio.
広い敷地を全部囲んでると思う。
Mion fell silent. Rena's merciless words felt cruel, but they weren't meant to be. Maybe they were trying to lessen her good friend's pain, if only by a little. Maybe they were considerate, like she had been trying to help.
自首しよう。
Mion didn't open her mouth, but she smiled just a little.
私たちも一緒に行くよ。親友を一人きりになんか絶対にし。
泣くことレナにゃ勝てないわ。
She rose, scratching her head. Her face had returned entirely to that of the usual Mion.
自分で自分の罪、どのくらいになるかよくわかってる。たとえ自首が認められても、多分もうここに帰ってくることもないと思う。
I couldn't say anything. The number of deaths Mion was involved in was just too large. So much so that maybe recommending that she turn herself in was, in a way, extremely cruel.
だから最後にわがままを聞いてほしいな。
何かな。
30分でいいからケイちゃんと二人きりにしてほしい。
Whoa. Huh? My name suddenly came up and it looks like I was the only one surprised about it.
圭一くんどうかな。圭一くんが嫌なら無理にとは言えない。
そうだね。嫌ならそれでもいいよ。私は鬼だもの。ケイちゃんはよそから引っ越してきた正真正銘の人間。相入れることなんてお社様が実在して仲介してくれない限り絶対にない。
There was no reason for me to hesitate. Mion had been engulfed by heavy, unopposable tradition. The one who had forced her to kill her friends with her own hands. That was me and me alone. In fact, with me cornered, it would have been okay for her to blame me. However, Mion didn't say one word of blame. Far from it, I was guilty of the same crime, and she let me alone. Amidst the fate she could not oppose, she saved me alone. I didn't know whether I should be thankful for that. Thinking upon it now, I didn't know how much easier it would have been if I were to be granted the same punishment as Rika-chan and the others. The only thing I knew for sure was that I had the equal duty to bear the sins that Mion shouldered. So when it came to Mion's last request, there was no reason for me to hesitate.
あ、いいぜ。
ありがとう。
Ooh.
私からもありがとうを言うよ。ケイチ君。
Rena stood up. It looked like she would keep her promise with Mion and leave.
あ、いいよレナ。ここで待っててくれれば。ケイちゃんとは庭をぐるりと回りたいだ。退屈だったら私の部屋へ行けばいい。なんだったらお気に入りの単行本丸ごと持ってってもいい。
嫌だよ。みーちゃんの本はみーちゃんのものだもの。勝手にレナの家に持って帰れない。
あんたはこんな時に限っていい子なんだから。
Mion took Rena's hand and rubbed it violently like I always did.
行こう、ケイちゃん。
I began to walk after Mion, who headed for the hallway, when Rena silently stopped me.
みーちゃんもよろしくね。
Take care of Mi-chan. Yeah.
みーちゃん、もう二度と帰ってこれないって確信してる。
I didn't know much about law, but with as many deaths as she had been involved in, the chance of her escaping a heavy punishment seemed
みーちゃ
non-existent.
んが短気を起こさないように見張ってね。
Mion might not surrender herself to justice, but instead choose to put an end to things herself. Rena had already thought that far ahead.
そんなこと絶対にさせないから。
Rena rubbed at her tears, which had fallen without me noticing them.
じゃあ言ってあげて。
I nodded and followed Mion, who had disappeared out in the front door. I could clearly hear Rena sobbing from the other side of the paper
ど
door.
うしてみーちゃんは鬼なんか継がされちゃったんだろうね。それは仕方のないことだったんだろうね。でもあんまりにもかわいそうだよね。
Something hot burned down my cheeks. They were tears. They were my tears. I fiercely wiped them away. This was the last of my time I could offer to Mion, so I absolutely didn't want to let her see me my tears during it. Mion was already waiting outside the front door. Holy shit, what a chapter. I'm not gonna lie, that sort of like conversation about like what was it, Unit 731 kind of like really rattled me. Like oh shit. Whoa, I thought it was over. Oh shit. Hold on, let me actually save this real quick. I have not saved. Save right here. Yes. I actually thought it was over. It's still going. Okay. I put my shoes on, tapped my toes against the floor a few times, then left. And Mion timidly came over. Why is she turning all red at a time like this?
組んでもいいかな。
Whoa. It was such a modest
別
request.
に構わないぞ。
With my permission, her face lit up with glee, like a child being given a toy, and took my
私
arms.
に腕を組まれたらなんだか緊張しちゃわない？例えば急に関節技を決められちゃうんじゃないかななんて思ったりとか。
姉妹揃って同じことを言うんだな。思わないよ。全然。
I don't think that at all. Back when nothing had gone wrong yet, during those nostalgic days of bustling commotions at Angel Mort, I counted back and was amazed. It had only been 1 week ago. I had been armed in arm with Shion back then too. Linking arms with Mion like this really reminded me of that they were twins. How much strength they put into it. The sensation of their arms, their warmth, their blood flowing. I could feel that their living sensations were all exactly the
シオン
same.
もケイちゃんのことが好きだったみたい。
そうなんだ。
I see. If this were a regular conversation, I might have jumped back with a red face. Right now, though, no matter what I heard, my mind remained at peace.
ミオンとシオンは仲は良かったんだろ
さあ、どうかな。ケイちゃんは自分の右手と左手は仲がいいと思う？
え？右手と左手？それは仲がいいとか悪いとか、そういう言い方で例えるものじゃないな。
そういう関係だから。仲がいいとか悪いとか、そういう尺度では測れない関係。
That didn't sound like it meant they got along really
例え
well.
ば、利き腕というものがあるように、右手と左手には間違いなく、もしも鍋つかみが片方しかなかったら、迷うことなく利き腕にするでしょ？そういう差はあったんじゃないかと思う。だからといって、左手がなくなったっていいなんて思う人は誰もいないはず。そんな、よくわからない関係だね。
多分、それは近くにいすぎるから見えなくなっているだけで、きっととても仲のいいことなんだと思う。俺は一人っ子だから、祭りの前日、ミオンとシオンが二人してじゃれ合っているのを、すごく羨ましいと思った。
ないものねだりじゃないの？双子なんて、昔は人をからかったりして、こうして互いがはっきりと異なる個性を持った今では、かえって邪魔なだけ。
Were they cursed or were they self-conscious? The relationship was hard to understand from an outsider. Maybe that wasn't the issue someone like me should intrude on. Just staying silent and nodding gently was the best way to advance the conversation. Mion pressed through the wild yard and invited me to a big, desolated forest we'd seen on the way in. Such a big forest was part of their property, so I couldn't help but feel
で
small.
かい森だな。子供の頃はいい遊び場だったんじゃないのか？
Mion seemed to be slightly reminiscing. I couldn't look into her mind, but she was probably thinking back to those fun days when they played as sisters without any antagonism. Every time the wind blew, it caressed the treetops and the leaves, making a swishing, murmuring sound. Mion remained silent for a long time, thinking back on the younger sister whom she had gotten rid of with her own hands. There was no need for me to get a word in. Just walking like this, arm in arm, was enough. Mion suddenly stopped and turned.
シオンは、
本当か？
Oh shit!
シオンは、まだ生きてる。
She's still alive? Really? Mion took a hard look into my eyes and nodded quietly.
誰よりもむごたらしい死に方をさせてやろうと、ずっと考えて閉じ込めておいた今日まで、その方法はとうとう思いつかなかった。
Mion sounded as though she hated Shion, but also deep down she didn't completely detest her. So I took my other hand and rustled Mion's hair with it. Mion didn't only save me, she saved Shion. Mion may have become a demon and led many people to their deaths, but she fought against it and was able to save 2 people. As I petted Mion, she narrowed her eyes in an entranced smile and untangled her arms from mine. Then Mion quietly said,
来て。私の罪のすべてを見てほしいから。で
Whoa.
もそれはケイちゃんにとって、この上なく辛い光景かもしれない。
I couldn't sense it. I would probably find all the sacrifices up until now. Looking at them would mean accepting Rika-chan and Sakuko-chan's death, as well as accepting that my best friend had done this.
すでに起こり、終わってしまった事実だけれども、ケイちゃんは見ないことを選んでもいい。そうならば、ここで待っていて。私の手で、すべて終わらせるから。
I was taken aback by how ominous that sounded. I remembered what Rena told me. Mion might surrender herself to justice, but choose to put an end to things herself. I couldn't leave her on her own. Besides, I agreed her last request, didn't I? If it was ever hard for me to accept, I'd still do it. Even if I avoided looking, it was something that had already
何を見
happened.
たって。
うん。
俺にとっての園崎美音は最高の親友だ。それは変わらない。一生。
The treetops softly swayed in the
あんた
wind.
もレナもどうしてこんな時ばかりかっこよくなるんだろうね。
Normally I'd say something rude right back at her, evening the questioning, but today I didn't. I just answered with a smile. At last Mion started walking into the thick forest, into the deepest parts. After following a thin path that looked like an animal trail for a while, we finally came across a steep incline with a tunnel that reminded me of a coal mine or a bomb shelter. We were surrounded by shallow hills. It had been created in a spot not visible from the outside. There were many silhouettes of crows in the trees here and there. An abnormal odor had been smelling for a while, undoubtedly escaping from the inside this place.
引き返すなら今だよ。
Oh my
ケイちゃんの中
god.
の園崎美音がどんな人かは知らないけれど。
Dude, an actual freaking murder cave. What the fuck is this?
中に入れば、その美音はきっと。
変わらない。何度だって言う。園崎美音は俺の最高の親友だ。
I clenched my fist. Inside there was part of a sight beyond anything I could imagine. If I left my guard down, I might end up vomiting. Even so, I endure it. I'll overcome this pain and this suffering. It will never change that Mion is my greatest friend.
私はただの鬼だから、もう人間の気持ちはわからないけれど、ミオンがあんたを好きになったの、よくわかる気がする。
他人事のように言うな。お前はミオンだ。鬼じゃない。血の通った人間で、俺の仲間なんだ。
Mion made a gesture like she was wiping tears from her eyes, then placed a hand on the big door of the tunnel entrance. The lock on it was dauntingly strong looking. It seemed to demand the appropriate resolution from whoever would enter, just like the ritual storehouse. When the double doors opened, a stifling rotten air and a bunch of winged insects came rushing out. I remembered accidentally killing a hermit crab a long time ago by leaving its tank out on the porch, and how intense the odor it left was. If that was the smell of a corpse, then that's certainly what this smells like. Inside, it was pitch black, but Mion flicked the switch and turned the light's bulb, illuminating the interior. The path turned into a series of intersecting wooden tunnels. We passed spaces that looked like they were from storage. We passed places that looked like someone had lived there. All of this indicated that it had been used as a bomb shelter and stockpiled during the war. It didn't give an impression of a dug-out bomb shelter that had just been left there enough. There was a sense of dignity, and though this were a second Sonosaki house construction underground. Despite being in pitch black darkness below the ground, the voices of the cicadas were entering through an air hole somewhere, giving it a very mysterious feeling.
最具殿の中、見たよね。あの拷問道具の山を。あれはすべて、鬼ヶ淵村の厳しい戒律を守るために作られたもの。戒律を破った者を、見せしめにむごたらしく殺してみせる。
大昔の話だろ。
本来は見せしめの儀式。渡長氏は、御三家が取り仕切る儀式だったんだけど、君吉家と古出家の衰退、そして、時代の変化によって、行うことはとても難しくなった。
そりゃそうだな。この現代日本で犠牲者をのんびりと沢でばらして殺せるなんて思えない。
だから 園崎家は作ったの。現代でも綿流しの儀が行えるように。秘密の場所を。
So an actual, like, torture hole. Mion opened a large, strikingly different door, and inside was none other than a modern storehouse for the ritual instruments.
いろいろあるでしょ。一部のものは実際に西宮殿から運び込まれたものなんだよ。
All of the things there had been rusted and covered in dust, so they didn't seem to be that real, but the things in here were different. Every one of them had been well maintained and kept in state that they could be used right away. Blades gleamed and strike were sharpened. Also, perhaps as a precaution for the splatter of blood, the wall ceilings were covered in the kind of tiling you would see in bathrooms. Tiling you would see in bathrooms, and there was even a drain set amidst the slight slope in the floor. There were also a coiled rubber hose along the wall attached to a faucet, perhaps for cleaning up the splattered blood.
大昔の当主の書き物によるとね。血のしぶきってのは犠牲者に負担をかけない割にはインパクトがあるんだってさ。綿流しは見せしめのショーだったから、私のご先祖様たちは様々なショーを考案してたんだよ。
As she said that, Mion pointed deeper into the torture room, to a spot veiled in darkness. There was surprisingly a room floored with tatami mats, and in the corner was a pile of
単焦
cushions.
石なんだよ。綿流しは見せしめのショーだから、客がいなきゃ意味がない。
I couldn't speak, and I couldn't think of anything to say, anything, except that if Mion revealing all this to me made her heart feel a little lighter, then I was prepared to listen for as long as I needed to.
みんなここで、私が殺した。見てくれている観客はいなかったけど、私は綿流しを上手にやってみせた。いや、観客は一人だけいたかな。
Huh?
観客？
私という鬼がミオンの執り行う綿流しをずっと見てたから。
Mion cackled in self-deprecation. It wasn't a nice sounding laugh.
向こうが牢屋。
シオンはそこにいるのか？
She nodded slightly. Mion's Watanagashi had ended today. I needed to tell Shion that I was safe without a moment's delay. After all, she was probably trembling in fear at this very moment, worrying about when she would be killed. The ostentatious door on the other side opened, revealing that what must have been an incredibly expensive space based on the echo it made. Mion groped around in the darkness, and a handful of naked light bulbs came on there and there. As my eyes adjusted more and more, the great cave showed itself in the faint light. The walls were bare rock surface, and it felt so savage that bomb shelters was the most apt term for it. There were small bared rooms built there and there, like holes made by insects biting their way through the giant piece of fruit. It was immediately clear that each one of them was a
みん
prison.
なはどこにいるんだ？リカちゃんやサトコは。
死体？
Their corpses? I grimaced at her having said it outright.
そうだ。いつまでも暗い中じゃかわいそうだろ。
虫が湧くと嫌だったから井戸に捨てちゃったよ。ごめん。
Threw them down the well. So I can't even see their faces in death. Once again, my feeling of regret at having confessed everything to Rika-chan came surging forth. If Mion hadn't attached the word sorry at the end of what she said, I might have punched her. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. You said it yourself, no matter what, Shion Sonozaki is your greatest friend.
言ったさ。
I needed to hear myself say it out loud. Then came the clattering of bars in one of the cells deeper in. Then I noticed it. I looked up as well.
シオンか。
ケイちゃんなの。
I ran over to the cell. White hands were peeking through the gap in the bars. It really was her.
大丈夫かシオン、怪我はしていないのか。
Shion's face twisted out of shape as she screamed. It was because Mion had appeared right behind me. Of course, Shion didn't know everything was over
落ち
yet.
着けシオン。もう全部終わったんだ。全部。
I spoke in a calm voice as she managed to try to soothe the agitated Shion. However, it didn't seem like it was going through to her screams.
シオン、ご機嫌はいかがだった？
もう誰の死を見るのも嫌。私が憎いなら早く私を殺してよ。憎いのは私なんでしょ。早く殺して
落ち着けってシオン。もう終わったんだよ。大丈夫なんだ。だから落ち着け。
Shion had been screaming and rattling the iron bars back and forth. Was truly a frantic state. I gave a slight shrug of resignation, giving way to Mion. I had realized that if Mion was the one who locked her in there, if Mion was the one who had scared Shion this much, then Mion was also the only one who could put an end to this. Mion spoke from over her shoulder, quietly.
安心しなよ。あんたは殺さない。まだまだ殺さないんだから。
She bursted out into a bizarre laugh, as if trying to make Shion's madness even worse. Shion broke out into a fierce shiver, brought on by that laugh, and rattled the iron bars as she wailed.
そん
Holy shit.
なに死にたければ、この男を殺した後にゆっくりとひき肉にしてやるよ。古式にのっとり、獅子の先端から少しずつガリゴリと削ってミンチにしてやる。あの肉引き器はあんたのために取っておいてやるんだからね。それともそれでケイちゃんをミンチにしてみせた方が。
おい、いい加減にしろ。今さら怖がらせてどうするんだよ。
ダメ！ケイちゃん、逃げて！
I tried to rebuke Mion for flinging terrible words at her this late in the game, but when I turned around, oh my god, Mion's mouth, so much so that it's hard to believe, had twisted into a shape even thinner than a crescent moon. It was a smile. I couldn't sense it like a jolt of electricity. The person here wasn't my best friend Mion. It wasn't the Mion Sonozaki who had been tossed about by her heavy duty of succeeding the Sonozaki family either. Then, who was she? Bam! I saw sparks flying before my eyes, like what happened when you get hit with the back of your head. The strength of my body drained intensely, and my head suddenly became heavy. My knees buckled under the temptation, and I hit the floor. Then my whole body abruptly collapsed. My face should have hit the floor, but it was comfortable as if I had fallen down and down-filled futon. My consciousness reeled, then receded. It was the kind of sensation like if you took a nap in the car, but you were still half awake and could listen to your parents talking as if they were far away. No, you wouldn't be listening. You would only be hearing it. It was happening so far away. The conversation was completely unrelated to you, so you wouldn't have no interest in it. So whether Shion was yelling in my ears or Mion was in a vulgar hysterics, I didn't think it was annoying, nor did it interest me.
さて、どんな方法で料理してやろうかね。そうだ、釘台なんかどうかな。あのちびがき二人組に試したかったんだけど、手が小さくて高速台にサイズが合わなかったからね。あれにしよう、あれにしよう。
Mion held me up from behind and dragged me across the floor. The soles of my feet scraped on it and one of my shoes fell off. Shion's emotions exploded outward, and she bursted into bittersweet weeping. As if her crying had whetted Mion's interest, she flung me down and returned to the prison cell
あんた
again.
も可愛い声で泣けるじゃない。あんたのわざとらしい空いばりには虫唾が走ってたんだけど、やっぱりそういうあんたが一番似合ってるよ。ミオン姉さん、お願いです。私をどういう風に殺しても構いませんから、どうかケイちゃんだけは見逃してお願いです。
Shion had always acted as though she were a cut above her older sister. That Shion in such a miserable voice that I couldn't have imagined it during those peaceful times. Proposed herself before her older sister she used to scoff at and pleaded forgiveness. Mion looked down with an expression of cool indifference. One that was plainly smiling with
あん
joy.
たの希望なんか聞くつもりは全然なかったんだけど、あんたがあまりにも面白い声で泣くものだから、なんだか聞いててやってもいいような気がしてきたかな。思えばあんたには姉らしいこと何にもしてやれなかったからね。
I never did anything big sister like.
はい、ありがとうございます。じゃあさ、これまでのことを謝ってみせる。そうしたら私もこれまでのことをすっかり水に流してあげてもいい。そうしたらケイちゃんだけは見逃してあげなくもないよ。
Mion said she might let me go, but she never said anything about letting Shion go. Before long, Shion got on her hands and knees behind the bars and begged to speak weak words of apology. They were too faint for me to hear, but their intentions got across. Despite having watched her with a magnificently jubilant expression, Mion kicked the bars and declared she was
こんな
unsatisfied.
ので私の積年の恨みつらみが償えると思ってるわけ？こんなんじゃダメだね。やっぱりケイちゃんからひき肉だ。いやー、待って姉様、もう一度だけ。
Mion stopped and waved her hands in resignation. Not because she had grown impatient, but only because she was taking delight in abusing
ろく
Shion.
ろく満足に謝れないあんただからね。特別にお姉が心に届く謝罪の仕方ってのを教えてあげ。一度しか教えないし、一言一句でも間違えたらアウト。いいね。はい、ありがとうございます。
Holy shit, this is crazy. Shion's miserable voice cried out, having become utterly hoarse. The sensation tearing through my chest returned a little at a time. I realized I was feeling of anger bubbling up. I was slowly regaining control of my body. However, I was only able to feel my skin and my blood flowing at that moment. I still couldn't voluntarily move my fingers.
ちゃんと覚えられたかな。ではやってごらん。誠心誠意、鉄頭鉄尾。ちゃんとできたなら、あんただけを殺してあげる。
はい。ありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。
Something was strange. Something had become strange at this some point. Until just a few moments ago, I was sure this had been Mion, but at some point she had become someone else. The Mion I knew well would never do something as so nasty like enjoy trampling all over someone's dignity like this.
やってごらん。お姉ちゃんはちゃんと聞いててあげる。
園崎シオンは。
When I ran over to Shion's cell earlier, had the real thing been swallowed out with swapped out with a fake right behind me? Anyways, this couldn't possibly be Mion.
シオンはミオン姉様の足元にも及ばない身の程をわきまえず。
ほらほら、その調子。少しは許してあげようかなって気になってきたよ。
Blood circulated through my whole body. My numbed senses were returning. Just a little bit more. While Shion is holding Mion, while Shion is still holding Mion's, no, that thing's pretending to be Mion. Attention. Hurry
生意
up.
気だったこれまでを反省し、一緒ですから。
Mion burst into laughter, echoed throughout the cave, growing to a terrifying level. That was not the laugh of someone who was alive in this world. It was none other than the laugh of a demon from the bowels of the earth. She laughed from her stomach until she grew tired of it, and stopped smiling suddenly as if snipping a
いい
wire.
よ、もう。十分面白かったわ。あんたがそこまでプライドを捨てられるとは思わなかったから。十分に愉快。
Mion began to drag me out after I finally got a feeling of my body back and pulled me towards the torture chamber.
姉様、殺すのはその人許して。
安心しなって。ちゃんとあんたは殺してあげるよ。ケイちゃんの悲鳴をたっぷりと聞かせた後に。
Holy shit. After dragging me to the torture chamber, she skillfully strapped me into the restraining table. Before I knew it, I was sprawled out and bound. She forced one hand with which she couldn't even make a satisfying fist and tightly restrained each one of my fingers. She fastened only one hand, and my fingers at that, tightly with hinges and locked them in place. The door to the cave with the jail had been left open so I could hear Shion's cries of mortification the entire time.
これから始めるよ。ケイちゃんの若い悲鳴をたっぷりと楽しみな。
いい加減にしろ。
The feeling of my body returned, and the first action I took was to tell that thing that looked like Mion.
ようやくお目覚め。私、さっき嘘。シオンを一番むごたらしく殺してやろうと思って閉じ込めておいたけど、まだ思いつかないって言ったやつ。あれが嘘。
Mion brought over something like a toolbox. She has a gun, bro. She can just shoot you. From inside it, she removed a large metal hammer, and next to that, she began to line up what looked like strangely shaped nails, whose ends had been turned into hooks like the kind you see in a
あの
harpoon.
子に自分のせいで死ぬ大勢の人の悲鳴をたっぷりと聞かせて、体の芯まで染み通らせてから殺すの。なかなかセンスいいでしょ。
お前は誰だ？
Who are you?
は？ミオンでしょ？園崎ミオン。恐怖で頭が変になっちゃった？
違うな。お前が、園崎ミオンであるはずがない。
Mion snorted and continued to her preparations for the horrifying torture.
へえ。じゃあ、私がミオンじゃなかったら、私は誰なわけ？
鬼だ。
え？
お前はミオンじゃない。さっきまで一緒だったミオンを返せ。
ケイちゃん、本当に頭は大丈夫？
Bro, you hit me in the back of the head. Like, what do you
恐怖で
mean?
頭がどうかなっちゃった？
触るなこの鬼め！返せ！ミオンを返せよ！俺の最高の友人だったミオンを返せ！
Mion stood there for a few moments with her jaw hanging open, not having expected me to say that. I myself knew that I was about to go insane. I knew it was nonsense to demand Mion's return when she was right in front of me. But, this person in front of me couldn't possibly have been Mion. There's no way. I couldn't accept that. So this is what I thought. Mion really had been possessed by a demon and was controlling Mion as if it were separate personalities. Mion was a victim being manipulated by it. The evil one was really this thing. It all had to be the doing of the demon possessing her. When Mion heard that, she started to guffaw, laughing and hysterically that she started to cough and almost choked. Yo, she's going ham, bro.
本当におめでたい人だね。園崎ミオンに殺されようとしているこの瞬間に目の前の私を否定するわけ？こんな面白い人が世の中にいるなんて初めて知ったわ。
笑いたければ好きなだけ笑え。だがお前が何を言おうと俺はお前がミオンだなんてミオンを返せ。退け鬼め！
Be gone, thought.
ケイちゃん、私を笑い涙で溺れ殺すつもり？
No matter what, I wouldn't lose to that laughter of hers. I shouted loudly. I shouted from the bottom of my heart so that the real Mion, trapped inside the Mion I saw in front of me, would be able to hear.
頑張れミオン！こんな鬼畜生に負けるな！本当に強い！お前の力を見せてくれ！
The tears welled up and flowed down her face. Her hands were busy with the restraint, so she couldn't even wipe them. She just let them flow.
頼むよミオン！ミオン！どこでお前はこんな鬼に負けちまったんだ！お前はこんな弱いやつじゃないだろ！負けるな！戦え！戦え！
Mion desperately enduring her laughter, pressing one of the long nails into the tip of my finger, into the tip of my left pinky. In her hand was the hammer, and her side were dozen more nails. I could tell she was about to do it, though I wish I couldn't. Even so, I couldn't afford to be scared. That was why I shouted.
お腹の筋肉がよじれて痛いよ。もういい？そろそろ始めるよ。いい声を出してね。これはケイちゃんへの拷問である以上にシオンへの拷問なんだからさ。
どうしてミオン！
Then I wept. Only sobs came out. They weren't in acceptance of the torture about to be performed, however. They were tears of regret that Mion had lost to the demon. Yet, a small change did occur in Mion in front of me. Her heightened excitement was draining little by little. By the time I realized it, the one in front of me had returned to being Mion.
ケイちゃん、メイドの土産なんて気の利いたものじゃないけれど、どうしても知りたがっているようだから、一つだけ教えてあげるよ。
I didn't know if this was Mion, or just a display of momentary humanity the demon had recovered.
私の中に鬼が宿ったのは随分前。その鬼は私を蝕み、強行に駆り立てようとした。だけれど私はそれを理性で押さえつけた。鬼はそれで収まり、私はその鬼はどこかへ行ってしまった。でも私の中から出て行ったんじゃなく、私の中で眠っていただけだったの。その鬼は
Oh wait, shit, I didn't read that.
ある小さなことをきっかけにまた目覚めてしまった。
I noticed there were tears forming in her eyes. The demon woke up and due to a certain small
それ
opportunity.
は何に原因があったと思う？
There was a sad yet reproachable light in Mion's
わかる？
eyes. I don't know what gave the demon a chance to beat Mion.
鬼の私が教えるのも変だけれど、あんたが全てを狂わせてしまった元凶。
The tears welling up in her eyes spilled downward all of a
あの
sudden.
時、あんたがもらった人形を躊躇なく私に渡していたなら、全ては狂い出さなかったかもしれない。
So it really was about that doll. The doll that I got when we had our club meeting at the toy store that
ケイちゃ
Sunday.
んには理解できないだろうね。理解できなくて当然。だけどね、そこからドミノ倒しみたいにパタパタパタと初めの小さな一つを倒したあなたに自覚がないのは当然だろうけど、あなたが元凶なの。
そんな。
あんたがミオンを泣かさなかったら、私は起きなくて済んだのにね。これで十分？メイドの土産は。
A mistake that I made on that day. Was that messed everything up?
そんな。
自覚がないのは当然。でも、紛れもなく元凶なのはあの時。あんたがさりげなく人形を私にあげていたら、多分こんなことにはならなかったと思う。
I wanted to say, like I just remembered something as I recalled that day. Rena had told me about that and I thought I had apologized. I didn't apologize to Mion though. It had been Shion. In other words, oh god, I hadn't said a single word of apology to Mion. Today I came to the house saying that I had something to apologize for, but I never said the words of apology about this. Come to think of it, when I apologized for going to the ritual storehouse, Mion looked a little bit lonely, like she was disappointed. Why didn't I realize it until just now? Rena told me at the time, and now she herself, no, the demon was telling me. Is the only way for this dense idiot like me to be cursed, to die altogether? I could no longer hold back the hot tears from pouring out of my... I simply just cried and reflected indifferently on the taste of my tears, on the taste of
じゃあ
regret.
そろそろいい？この拷問はね、左手の小指の先端の節に釘を打つ。順に親指まで打ったらまた小指に戻って、今度は真ん中の節に釘を打つ。この調子で15本の釘で左手を打ちつける。それが終わったら次は右手。
Holy shit!
それが終わったら次は指先ってたくさんの神経が集まってるから、両手30本を打ち終える前に失神しちゃう人もいるそうだから。
Where the hell are the cops? I have to ask that at this point. Where the fuck are these fucking cops, bro? Mion pressed the tip of the nail to my left pinky finger. My wrists, my arms, and all my joints on my fingers were strapped in so tightly it hurt, and I couldn't even
他の
twitch.
人を拷問するときには何のためらいもなかったけど、なぜかあんたにはためらいがあるよ。
それでミオンの鬼が収まるなら。
If it will sate the demon, then do me what you will.
あんた本気で言ってるの？
俺が傷つけたミオンの痛みに比べれば気の済むようにするといい。その代わり2つ約束しろ。
Mion fell silent. She did, however, wait for me
俺
to
を
speak.
気が済むまで痛めつけたらシオンは許してやれ。西宮殿に忍び込んだ罪にはそれで十分見合う仕打ちをしたはずだ。
あんたこの後に及んで自分よりシオンの心配ができるわ。
もう一つは気が済んだらもうお前は消えろ。その体をミオンにそれだけだ。
あんたって人には命乞いをするとかそういう考えは思い
約束2つじゃなくて3つ目は俺を
最初に2つって言ったでしょ。だからもうダメ。
そいつは残念。
In such an abnormal situation, Mion and I laughed quietly together, as if sharing a stupid joke.
多分私は約束を鬼だから。
その時は仕方がないさ。
I recall tightening my hands into a fist. Then, when enduring the pain at the dentist's office. Right now, though, they were all open all the way to the fingertips, so I couldn't even grip them. So instead, I tightened my toes. Okay, do it. I'm prepared myself already. So do it. You waited like this to hammer the nails in is scarier. It's going to diminish my readiness after all. Mion put down the hammer and gently stroked my cheek.
ケイちゃん、今の3つ目の
Huh? My third wish to save me? She agreed to it?
1つ目の願い。シオンを救うこと。これはもう無理。シオンは鬼が殺してしまう。それはもう決められたことだから止められない。だから諦めて。
Her delicate fingers slid to my cheeks and
そ
to my
して
chin.
2つ目の願い。この体をミオンに返すこと。これももう無理。今日を境にミオンが戻ってくることはもうない。今日以降もし私の姿があったとしてもそれは姿だけ。私の姿をした鬼だから。
そんなことはない。
That isn't true.
ミオンはミオンだ。もう戻ってこないなんて悲しいことを言うな。
聞こえる？あの音。
Mion gently closed her eyes and listened. I definitely heard it as well. Slam! Slam! A dull noise that repeated at fixated intervals. A low noise accompanied by vibrations. A lot of people were ramming the iron door to this underground ritual storehouse.
帰りが遅いからレナが大石を呼んだんです。あのぼやーっとした感じの子がこんなに頭が回るのだけは計算外だったな。
それについては同感だよ。
Mion grinned like she had been outwitted, then took something that looked like an electric razor out of her pocket. Then she pressed the switch. Pale blue sparks flew out with the snapping
見たこ
noise.
とないでしょ。本物のスタンガンだよ。違法品なんでかなり出力が上げられるようになってるけどね。
さっき俺に食らわせたのはそ
Was
れ
that
か。
what you hit me with
子
before?
供のおもちゃには向かねえぞ。
そうだね。
She seemed to want to use a stun gun on me. Unable to move, I felt her press the cool lump of metal on my neck. Slam! I heard a roar as though they'd broken down the first large door. The hall were a bit complex, but aside from the door to this very torture chamber, there was nothing in their way.
殺さないけどしばらくケイちゃんにはお休みしててもらうね。すぐに大石が来てくれるからちょっとの我慢。
feeling the same shock as before. Gritting my teeth wasn't going to help much, but I clenched them tightly anyway. However, just as she did when she was about to hammer the nail in, she hesitated a little. I cracked open a slight closed eyelid.
ごめんね。ミオンを怪我して。
ここに入る前に約束した。何があっても俺の中のミオンは。
でも忘れて。今日以降、もしも私を見かけても、それは私の屍に取り付いた鬼なんだから。
What are you talking about? Just as I tried to say that, a much stronger light than before shined, and like a television being switched off, my consciousness went black. Boom. Oof. I'm scared to stop right now because I kind of gotta go. Okay, I think I am gonna stop right now because I kind of have to. It's getting kind of late for me. I will finish this next time. I know the Higurashi specifically has like those like extra scenes where they sort of discuss like what's gonna happen next. So we'll have plenty of stuff to read next time. But I think I am gonna cut it for now, fortunately. I started really late. I should have started streaming earlier, but I just kind of didn't have time. So, oh well. Anyway, anyone who watched, thank you for watching. Really do appreciate it. And yeah, have a good night, good evening, good morning, whenever you're watching this, whatever. Anyway, take care. I'll probably just stream tomorrow just to finish this off.